shit, guys, it's so fucking hot outside, so I'm gonna see War for the Planet of the Apes today. I'm excited. Let's go in.
Before they come back.
How much is it? The Equinox starts at $24,520.
Alright guys, so I watched War for the Planet of the Apes in the Dolby Cinema. I'm gonna say straight off the bat that I love Rise, and I think Dawn is a good movie, but it's not as great as people say it is. So in War for the Planet of the Apes, we have a army that basically goes hunting for the apes, and of course when they find them, they start killing some of the apes, and that's when Caesar says, you know, this is enough, and I'm going to find who is the one behind this army. And of course, the guy behind this army is Woody Harrelson, and he's basically doing this to save the human race. First off, the motion capture for this movie is just fantastic. The apes look real. They do not at all look computer generated. Andy Serkis delivers a perfect performance as Caesar, just like in the other two films. He is great in this movie. Woody Harrelson, I've never quite seen him like this before because I always see him in comedies and all that. And in this movie, he has more of a dramatic role, mainly because of what his character's past was with his son and his family and all that, which he later explains in the film. But not only that, but he has his reason to why he's killing off these apes, which is something that has to do with a virus that was basically introduced in the first film. And especially for the antagonist of this film, I think he is very good for what he is in this movie. At least in this movie, he's proving that he could at least handle these dramatic roles rather than the comedy roles that he usually does. But when it comes to surprise performances, the surprise performance in this film for me was Steve Zahn as Bad Ape. The reason why I say that is because when I first heard that Steve Zahn was casted for this movie, I thought he was going to play a human in the army or something, but I would have never expected him to play an ape. And I was kind of skeptical about this because I've never really seen him work with motion capture, and luckily he pulled it off so well. His character, Bad Ape, is so likable, so funny, and he pulls it off from the first minute that he's on screen. Let's just get it over with. All the motion capture in this movie is top notch. Now, I love the first act of this movie. It doesn't even feel like an Apes movie. It feels like its own independent movie. Now, the second act of this movie is fantastic. I love the second act of this movie. It's just so damn suspenseful. Like, literally, it's a nail biter. And for those two first acts of the movie, I was like, wow, this movie is really fucking great. It's like literally a 10 out of 10, A+. And then we get to the third act, where everything that I wanted from this movie really isn't there. The third act of this movie was quite disappointing, and it's not what I wanted from a movie called War for the Planet of the Apes. I mean, what I wanted from this movie, believe it or not, is I wanted to see apes beating the shit out of humans with machine guns and grenades and all that, and we did not get that. Well, we see Caesar throwing a grenade at something, but not at someone, and we do see humans shooting at apes, but apes are not shooting at humans, and that's what I expected from a movie named War for the Planet of the Apes. So I don't know whether it was just me, or if I was just anticipating this movie in a whole different way, or I don't know. Not only that, but it just kind of starts to feel like you don't know who are these people from the White Army, because from the trailers, you see these people with white helicopters and they're dressed in white, and you know they're a part of the army, and you think that they're fighting against the apes, but they're not fighting against the apes. They're fighting against Woody Harrelson's army, and the apes are just there. And when that scene was just happening, when the army that is all in white started attacking against Woody Harrelson's army, I'm like, where the hell did they come from, and why are they attacking at his army and not at the apes? I was really confused. And they probably did explain in the film who they were, but they probably didn't do a good job saying that because I didn't really understand who they are or where they came from. I was just really confused who these people were and why they were there in the first place. And then after the movie ended, I talked to a few friends who also watched this movie, and they also admitted that they don't know where these people came from, so they didn't really do a good job explaining why they were there. And for me, the narrative kind of started to slow down for me, and it started to feel a little weak when it was actually really strong for those first two acts of the movie. So the last act of this movie really let me down, but it was still good, but it's not as great as the first two acts. Oh, also that little girl you see in the trailers, I thought she was going to be pointless to this movie, and it appears that she really isn't pointless. She's what brings you the heart and the warmth of this movie. Overall, guys, I love this movie. Even though the third act is pretty weak when you put it aside next to the first two acts, I still think this is a really good movie, and I'm going as far as to saying that this already beat Rise as my favorite movie in this Apes trilogy. So there you have it, it's the best of the trilogy. This movie is definitely full prize worthy, and that's why I'm gonna give this movie an A-. Like I said, I did see this movie in the Dolby Cinema at AMC Prime, which has Dolby Vision, and those visuals just look crisp on that screen, and the CGI on these apes look fantastic. And the Dolby Atmos sound mixing, I think it only works for the very last act of the movie. Dolby Atmos is supposed to sound realistic, and it has overhead speakers, and those overhead speakers really only get active when the helicopters are passing around in the third act of the movie. But there are some scenes where you actually have a sense that there are apes inside the theater. It's really up to you if you want to spend the extra $3 to $5 on just to have a realistic experience with the sound, but again, it only really works for the third act of this movie, so I wouldn't exactly recommend it. I think if you see this movie in a regular theater, you'll be just fine anyways. But anyways, have you guys seen this movie? If you guys seen it, what did you guys think about it? As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.